In the grand theater of human history, two empires staged their greatest acts at opposite ends of the stage. In the 2nd century BC, the silk banners of the Han Dynasty unfurled in the east. 3 centuries later, the bronze eagles of Rome cast their shadow over the west. And at the zenith of these two civilizations, destiny presented a similar gift, a ruler who wore philosophy as his crown. One was a frontier prince, tempered by the winds of the distant north, who would walk into the Weiyang Palace to unlock a golden age. The other was a soldier emperor who spent his life on war-torn frontiers, penning timeless truths by campfire light. One was Liu Heng, Emperor Wen of Han. The other was Marcus Aurelius of Rome. Two monarchs chosen to answer the same eternal question: what happens when conscience holds the scepter? The winter of the 180th BC, a secret missive from Chang'an cuts through the frontier cold. The mighty Liu clan has fallen in a bloody purge. The throne is empty. The powerful ministers need a new emperor, one who is legitimate yet safe. Their eyes turn north to Dai. There, they find Liu Heng, not a charismatic hero, but a prince forged by 15 years of border governance. His first instinct upon receiving the summons, not joy, but profound suspicion. History records his cautious approach. He sent his uncle ahead to scout. He hesitated at the gates of the capital. Let the chancellor enter first, he insisted. This was not weakness, but the survival wisdom of a man who had seen the abyss. When he finally accepted the imperial seal, he brought to the throne not just royal blood, but the hardened pragmatism of the frontier. Contrast this with Marcus Aurelius, 3 centuries later. His path to power was paved not with suspicion, but with philosophical training. Adopted by the virtuous Emperor Antoninus Pius, Marcus was steeped in the teachings of Stoicism from youth. His ascension was one of preparation, not peril. He inherited a stable empire and a question how to rule with wisdom. Two divergent roads to the throne. One learned the weight of the people's livelihood on the harsh frontier. The other grasped the gravity of duty through the calm of philosophy. Yet both understood from day one that the crown was not a prize, but a burden. The test had begun. Emperor Wen's first act of rule was an act of refusal. Told that a pleasure terrace would cost 100 pieces of gold, the wealth of 10 prosperous families, he recoiled. I would be ashamed before my ancestors, he declared. This was no empty gesture. It was the instinct of a ruler who measured cost in human toil, not treasury digits. He wore coarse silk, forbade elaborate decor, and ordered his favorite consort to shorten her dresses to save cloth. But his benevolence went far beyond frugality. In 167 BC, a young girl named Ying changed history. Her father faced mutilation. She petitioned the emperor, the dead cannot return to life. The mutilated cannot regain their limbs. How can they repent? Moved to his core, Wen posed a revolutionary question to his court: to mutilate the body, to inflict lifelong agony, is this the will of a father to his children? With an edict, he began the abolition of mutilating punishments, a humanitarian leap in legal history centuries ahead of its time. Meanwhile, on the Danube frontier, Marcus Aurelius practiced virtue as an inner discipline. Amidst war, plague, and political intrigue, he turned inward. His meditations were not laws for an empire, but rules for his own soul: to act with justice, to bear fortune with dignity, to accept what cannot be changed. You have power over your mind, he wrote, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Two forms of virtue equally profound. Wen's was external, enacted through policy to alleviate tangible suffering. Marcus's was internal, a fortress of reason built against chaos. One changed the system to be kinder. The other perfected the self to endure it. Both were responses to the human condition. separated by philosophy and miles. Wen's reign seemed devoid of martial glory. He continued the He policy, sending princesses and silks to the mighty Xiongnu Confederation, buying peace with gifts critics called tribute. When generals clamored for war, he spoke of the burdens of the people. His strategy was not expansion, but accumulation. He slashed taxes, opened state monopolies, and let society breathe. The result? The rule of Wen and Jing. By his son's reign, the state coffers overflowed, grain stores rotted, and the population boomed. Wealth was not extracted by conquest, but grown from within. Marcus's reign was the opposite, a perpetual state of emergency. Germanic tribes hammered the Danube frontier. Rebellion simmered in the east. A devastating plague, possibly smallpox, swept through the empire, killing millions, including his co-emperor. The philosopher-king became a full-time soldier administrator. He reformed laws, aided the poor, but his energy was consumed in holding the line. His meditations are the notes of a man striving for inner peace while managing an empire on fire. Here lies the ultimate paradox. Wen, by choosing strategic inaction and humility, built an unparalleled reserve of national strength. Marcus, by relentlessly fulfilling his duty to defend the empire, drained its resources and stamina. One stored water for a coming drought. The other fought a flood with endless buckets. Their philosophies of service led them down opposite paths of statecraft. The legacy of Wen's frugality became the fuel for empire. 23 years after his death, his grandson, Emperor Wu, stood atop the wealth Wen and his father had accumulated. With that colossal reserve, Wu launched epic campaigns that shattered the Xiongnu, expanded the borders, and opened the Silk Road. The inaction of the grandfather made possible the world-shaking action of the grandson. Wen built the engine, Wu poured on the fuel. Marcus Aurelius left a different legacy. He died on campaign, leaving the empire to his son, Commodus, a ruler obsessed with gladiatorial spectacle, whose reign began Rome's disastrous decline. The philosopher-king's lifetime of duty could not secure the future. The crisis of the 3rd century followed, a half-century of chaos that nearly destroyed Rome. The Stoics' fortress of self-mastery stood strong, but the empire outside its walls crumbled. Wen chose a tomb built into a mountain with no grand mound, ordering burial in pottery, not gold. Marcus is remembered by a towering column in the heart of Rome, carved with his martial deeds. One receded into the landscape, the other reached for eternity in stone. Two answers to mortality, reflecting their rule, one humble, merging with the people, one monumental, asserting order. So, what is the true measure of a philosopher-king? Is it the legacy of stone and conquest, or the legacy of stability and growth? Is greatness found in the perfect inner citadel, or in the tangible betterment of millions of lives? Liu Heng and Marcus Aurelius never knew each other, but across 3 centuries and a continent, they conducted history's greatest parallel experiment in principled rule. They proved that power could be tempered with humanity, that a throne could be a seat of reflection. In an age that often forgets, their silent dialogue across time reminds us the most enduring monuments are not always made of marble. Sometimes they are woven from peace, prosperity, and the courage to choose the harder, quieter path. If this journey through the minds of 2 of history's most thoughtful rulers resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Who do you think left the greater legacy? Until next time.